Reading a book can make you take life-altering decisions. It takes you into the insights of other people and makes you reconsider your very own life. The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying was one such book for me. It literally made me quit my job as a doctor. Now, I had previously considered and floated around the whole idea of me quitting my job as a doctor to do other things, but I had a bit of fear. I wasn't taking it too seriously until I actually read this book, and it all became certain in my eyes. Ideally, for me, the book was the final nail in the coffin. Now, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying was written by an Australian called Bronnie Ware. She had worked in a variety of nursing homes and worked with a lot of end-of-life patients. You know, her clients were end-of-life patients. Hundreds of them in all walks of life, famous, rich, with a lot of money. And you know, this makes me reconsider and think about it in great detail, because for a lot of people and a lot of us, our goal in life is to make a lot of money, you know, to be prosperous. She was working with a lot of prosperous people, but when it came to the deathbed, a lot of them, she noticed, had usually the same regrets. Of course, it was way more than 5, but a lot of them would have the same regrets. It doesn't matter how much fame you had gotten, it doesn't matter how much money you've made, the regrets were usually the same. And so the main takeaway from the book for me, and the thing that I believe a lot of people would benefit from this book, is it helps us reconsider our lives and our decisions. Every so often, you know, I read this book now every so often, maybe once or twice a year, simply to make sure that I haven't lost sight of life. You know, you can easily go through life chasing after this and chasing after the other, but when you get to your deathbed, usually it's going to be the same regrets. You're going to be looking back and it's the same regrets. So I want to avoid having these regrets later in life or even on my deathbed by making sure that I actually put them at the back of my mind and I don't fall into this trap. Regret number 1, which was obviously the most common regret of the dying, was I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Now, this is crazy that this is the most common regret in life, because when I got to the point of having to choose between being a doctor and doing my other things, I had to choose between being true to myself or living the life others expected of me. You see, the thing with life is that literally our entire life is a life of expectation. A lot of times, the things that we actually do to live are other people's expectations. A lot of us, even our mere existence on earth was simply an expectation. You know, someone is expected to give birth. My mother and my father were expected to give birth to me. Think about it. Look at all the people who are maybe 40, 45 years old and they don't have a child. You yourself, see how you look at them. You're looking at them and you're like, what's wrong with these guys? How do they not have a child? Recently, we had a prominent figure in my country die. I think he had been the governor of the central bank. He died and he didn't have a child, and it's news everywhere. The guy died without a child. Why? Because it's an expectation. The moment you have a child, you know, you feel like that's one thing out of the way. It's not like everyone wants to have a child, but it's simply an expectation in community. Everyone is expected to go to school. They expect you to graduate with very good marks. You're expected to get a job. You're expected at some point to have a house, you know, build a house or have a place, they call it, to settle. You're expected to settle. So literally our entire lives are built on expectations. For me, I went and became a doctor. I studied to become a doctor, 6 years of training to become a doctor. And after that, of course, I'm expected to practice as a doctor. Everyone around me is looking at me as a doctor. And then 1 year into my practice, I'm telling you guys that I want to quit, or 2 years into my practice, I'm quitting. That's crazy. So when I sat down and I got to this point where I had to make this decision to quit, there were a lot of expectations around me. Even expectations derived from my own heart, not just from my dad or other people around me, but even I would look at myself and I'm thinking, what will people say when they see that I've quit after just a few years of practice? They're going to be like, you wasted your years in medical school, you wasted all these years in school simply to go outside and do other things, you know, do business. It just didn't make sense. But after I read this book, I noticed that it's actually a regret for a lot of people. I want to actually live a life true to myself. I had noted very earlier on, while still doing my training, that for me, being a doctor is not something that I was honestly very passionate about. I didn't think I loved the whole idea of me waking up and being a doctor for the rest of my life. I enjoyed it. I can't tell you I didn't like it, but I didn't think I was going to do it for the rest of my life. And when it came to the point where I had to make the decision to quit, it made it even worse, because I had just been awarded, you know, an accolade for being being the best doctor in my organization at that point. And so all the expectation is upon me. You know, they are looking at you as probably being the next leader in the organization or something like that. And so it just brought a lot of weight upon me. But then I wanted to be true to myself. I wanted to live a life that actually fulfills me. I didn't want to look at my life even 5 years later. Maybe I would quit 5 years later. But I didn't want to look at myself 5 years later and tell myself, what if I had quit earlier? What if I had quit that job? And so when I say that this book literally made me quit my job, I mean it. And I'm so glad I read it. Regret number 2 was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Now, this is an interesting one because it's so easy to think about it in retrospect. Each and every one of us gets to that point where you're thinking, oh, I think I'm working too hard. You know, I think I should work a little bit less. That's for the people who enjoy working. But then, depending on who you are, it can be so hard for you to notice that you're working hard. You know, there are 2 groups of people in life. There's the group of people who never want to work at all, and then there's the group of people who actually really work. You know, they really work. I personally am the kind of person who dedicates a lot of my time to work because I have a vision, I have a goal. There's things that I want to accomplish in my life by a particular age. And so it can become very easy for you to go down the roller coaster of work. You know, you're continuously working, you're chasing after this, you're chasing after that. Very many times I will work late into the night. In fact, even on Christmas Day, I was working. I was busy shooting videos, I was busy moving around the farm, checking work that's being done around. So it can be very easy for you to go down the drain hole and actually not notice that you're working too hard. But reading this book and noticing that people actually have regrets about work, and it's actually the second most common, actually made me reconsider this. So a lot of times these days, I'll sit down and I'm working, it's probably 11 p.m. and then I tell myself, hey, Dr. Daniel, come on, relax. First put work down, go and rest, go and sleep, go and play with your child, go and do something else. Just don't do work alone. You know, there's the statement where they talk about work without play. In all reality, work without play is pathetic. If you're only working and you never get to enjoy and have some form of fun and cool down and relax, you just overwork your body. There's times where I feel like my body has been so overworked. Sometimes I would stop to work only because my body is so overworked, I feel so tired. But I still have the desire and the push to work. But after reading this book, I continuously think about it and tell myself, hey, you know, you need to cool down, you need to relax. There'll always be more work tomorrow. You can always work tomorrow. You can always work after an hour. Sit down and relax for an hour, you know, sit down on your phone, maybe get out your phone, look through a little bit of Twitter, go outside, take a walk, just look at people, see what other people are doing, and not just focus all your time and energy on work. Regret number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Now, this is not one that I personally suffer with or struggle with because I'm a go-getter. Whether physically or emotionally, I'm the kind of person who tries to get what I want, and that means that it's very easy for me to express my intentions and feelings. If I don't like someone, if I don't like something, usually I'll tell you. I'll find a kind way of telling you. I'm not that blatant type who will just say everything out, but I'll find a way of passing the information over. And if I want something, if I'm in love with someone, I'll go and, you know, let them know. I let them know because I know that I might not have another opportunity. But for a lot of people, it's very different, yeah? You'll be hurt by someone and you'll keep it in. You'll keep it in forever. You will be in love with someone and you won't even have the courage to go tell them that you love them. You know, the thing that I've noticed, and just yesterday I was talking to someone who has anger issues, you know? He's the kind of person who doesn't share and talk with people about the things that he doesn't like. And the one thing that I noticed is when you don't share your feelings, especially pain, you just develop a lot more bitterness in your heart. In the end, you end up making decisions that honestly you would not have made, decisions that you would not have loved to make, not because you really want to make them, but because you never say anything out. So you take really crazy decisions, you make bad decisions because you're emotionally drained. There's so much in your heart. When you speak out a lot of your emotions, you actually feel happier, you feel relieved. Life is generally better when you speak out your emotions. And the other thing that a lot of people never get to do is to express their gratitude towards people. You know, this is another way of letting out feelings. Someone will do something for you and you're honestly and truly grateful, but you find it so hard to say thank you to someone. This is something that I learned from my mom, unfortunately, in her passing days. You know, when she was ill and she was in hospital, I was with her a lot of times on the hospital bed, and of course, I was paying the bills. I'm her son, and of course, I feel like it's my responsibility to pay her bills. But she kept telling me, hey, Dan, you know, at home they call me Dan. My parents, and siblings call me Dan. And she'd be like, hey Dan, thanks for treating me. Thanks for treating me. She said it so many times, and after she passed on, I noticed how much and how well it felt. It's not like I was seeking her gratitude, but I was glad that she felt like I was putting in effort to actually make sure she's well. That's one of those things that made me feel like, well, I did what I could, because my mom actually noticed it and she kept telling me thank you, because she noticed that I was actually putting in effort. So despite the fact that I feel like I could have done way more, at least there was a lot of gratefulness in her heart that I was putting in effort. So it actually taught me a lot of things to actually say thank you, learn to say thank you, learn to appreciate people when they do things, yeah? Learn to appreciate people, always appreciate people, because you never know when they are not there, you never know when they are gone, and you never know what impact your feelings, you expressing your feelings, will have on others. 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Now, honestly, this was a shocker. It's one of those things that I didn't think would have been a regret. Probably because I'm not the kind of person whose life is so much associated with friends. It's simply because of my personality and my social standing. I'm not the kind of person who enjoys going out for parties. I'm not the kind of person who, likes spending evenings out or nights out or going to the beach. I'm generally not that kind of person. When I have time to myself, I would enjoy spending it alone. Maybe I like going to, live bands, but again, a live band, I don't need maybe one person to go with, because the problem with going to a live band is when you go with people, you're just talking instead of appreciating the music. So I'm not the kind of person whose life is so much associated with friends. But then when I noticed this is actually a regret, I actually made it intentional for me to try and keep in touch with my friends, because I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, I don't know how much I'll need my friends, at this point, because I'm probably working, I spend too much time working and doing this and doing this. I may not feel the void because there's too many distractions. But later on in life, when I don't have too much work to do and all I have to do is probably sit at home, then friends become useful, because you can always get together and things like that. So I decided to intentionally make sure that I do spend some time with my friends. So I came together with, the close friends that I do have. Coincidentally or expectedly, all of them are doctors, and we intentionally make sure that a few times a year, we meet. Maybe it will be at my home, maybe at the home of one of the others, maybe out, meet, talk, laugh, spend time together, pray together, just to make sure that we remain close as friends. And I make sure that when I have these meetings with my friends, nothing comes between them. I personally decided, after reading this book, to make sure that every time we would have a meeting, I would be present. I would make sure that I don't miss any of them. Not a business meeting, not even the biggest client would make me miss any of those meetings, because I will always get big clients. I'll always get work, I'll always get all these other things, but I only have maybe 3 or 4 times a year to meet with my friends and spend time together, spend maybe 4 or 5 hours together. So this is something that I learned from the book and I intentionally implement to make sure I never have this regret in life. And finally, I wish I had let myself be happier. Now this, I believe, is one of the most complicated ones, because the definition of happiness in life is so difficult. A lot of people actually define happiness as more money. A lot of people think more money will make them happier. Now, I also personally thought that until I started getting some money, and I noticed that, physical and material things actually don't make you happy. Coming from a lot of people who are wealthy, well accomplished, famous, and hearing a lot of them say they wish they had let themselves be happier, it made me reflect a lot on my personal life. And recently, I started noticing that money in itself doesn't really make you happy. It's the things that you do. And so I intentionally decided to make sure that I enjoy the things that I do. I don't wait for the end result. I told myself that I would enjoy the process of everything that I do, because life is a process. Yeah? You'll always have goals, but literally in life, goals are never attained. Every time you're close to one goal, it's like the bar gets raised a little bit higher. For example, when you want to get a car, you feel like when you get a car will make you happier. The day you get a car, you feel like when you get the other model of the car, it will get you happier. Once you get that model of a car, then you feel like this gold-plated car is actually what will make you happier. Once you get that one, then you feel like you need an aeroplane, because all of a sudden, each level you get to, there's always a bigger level to get to. The levels don't satisfy in themselves. So how about the grind? What you're actually doing to get to those levels? How about trying to find satisfaction in those things? So for example, for me, I could easily tell myself, when this channel gets to, let's say, 1 million subscribers, I'll be happy. But the time I get to 1 million subscribers, I'll want 100 million. So how about I actually enjoy the journey, making the videos, shooting the videos, writing down the notes for the videos, interacting with people in the comment section and seeing how the videos have actually impacted their lives, how they have enjoyed the videos. These are the things that I actually chose are going to make me happy. The process of getting there is what makes you happy. So if you decide to actually let the small things involve, for example, for me, I have a farm and I keep building chicken houses around. I have a goal of a particular number of chickens, maybe X number of chickens. But the process of getting to that goal, maybe waking up every day, spending some time with the guys who work around on the farm, talking to them, inspiring them, occasionally going and doing some work with them, doing some repairs with them. Those are the things that actually draw happiness. Knowing that I'm growing this thing, but I'm actually spending my emotions, my time, and actually making people happy. Those are the things that actually draw happiness. So I told myself to intentionally make sure that my life is happier. And I think I've discovered a way of being happy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another one. Bye-bye.